There is a door in your chart that has been closed for months, Pisces, and today it swings open just enough to change how the rest of this year unfolds. Somewhere between a planet that has been quietly working in your most private house and a moon that is racing through fiery, impulsive territory, two very different energies are about to collide. One wants you completely alone, the other wants you completely open to another person. Most horoscopes will tell you these two forces cancel each other out. They do not. Stay with this, because the way they actually interact today is the part almost nobody explains correctly. The bigger picture. Let us start with the slow-moving story, because it is the one shaping your entire year, not just today. In Western tropical astrology, Pluto is currently transiting Aquarius and moving through your 12th house, the house ancient astrologers associated with confession, hidden truths, and the parts of yourself you do not show anyone. This is not a quick visit. Pluto placements like this can linger for a year or longer, slowly excavating whatever you have buried in your inner world. The 12th house was once literally the confessional. It is where you spoke your truth to something larger than yourself and trusted it to keep the secret. With Pluto there now, that process of excavation is intense, patient, and impossible to rush. Here is what changes everything about today specifically. While that deep, slow work continues in the background, the moon is transiting Aries, activating urgency, confidence, and forward motion. In Vedic tradition, moon transits are read for their immediate emotional texture rather than long-term evolution, and today's placement suggests unusually stable feelings paired with a strong, almost fiery sense of self-assurance. So you have Pluto asking you to sit in the dark and listen, and the moon asking you to get up and act. That sounds like a contradiction. It is not. The bridge between them is Venus, which has just shifted into Libra and is now moving through your 8th house of intimacy and shared resources for the next 5 weeks. This is where the whole day starts to make sense. The 8th house has always been considered the house of merging, of what happens when two people's emotional and financial lives start to overlap. Venus here does not demand drama. It asks for honesty delivered gently. Take a breath here, because this next part is personal. The Western lens sees Pluto's 12th house work as a call towards solitary, soul-level repair, something happening quietly beneath the surface of your daily life. But Venus in your 8th house is asking you to bring a piece of that inner work into the light and share it with someone you trust. These are not competing instructions. They are the same growth arriving from two directions. The private excavation makes the shared vulnerability possible. You cannot open the door for someone else until you have done a little clearing on your own side of it first. That is the real shift happening in your chart this week. Love. If you are in a relationship or hoping to be, this Venus shift is where today gets genuinely interesting. Venus in your 8th house softens the edges around difficult conversations. Topics that usually feel loaded, like money, sex, or emotional history, may come up more easily than expected right now. This is not the kind of energy that manufactures a big romantic gesture. It is quieter than that. A shared agreement, an honest confession, or a simple moment of closeness might land with more weight than any grand declaration could. Here is the good news they did not mention. That inner work Pluto has been asking of you does not have to happen in isolation forever. When you let someone else see even a small piece of what you have been processing privately, the 8th house tends to reward that vulnerability with deeper trust rather than punishing it. If you are single, this window over the next several weeks may bring encounters that go beneath the surface faster than usual. Let the terms stay clear even as the emotional temperature rises. Clarity and depth are not opposites here. They are partners. If you are watching this and you have been guarding your feelings for a while, pay extra attention to this next part. Mistrust and jealousy are the two things most likely to sabotage this window, according to today's more immediate emotional reading. The Aries moon gives you the confidence to act, but confidence paired with insecurity can curdle into control. Choose the confidence. Leave the suspicion at the door. Career. That same fiery, self-assured moon energy that is helping your relationships also has something to offer your work. Tay favors decisive action over long deliberation, particularly earlier in the day. If you have something important to finish, momentum tends to be strongest before mid-afternoon, so front-loading your priority tasks makes more sense than saving them for later. But here is what almost every astrologer misses about this. The same Pluto process reshaping your inner world in the background is also quietly changing how you handle authority, secrets, and behind-the-scenes work. Creative or strategic projects that unfold privately, away from public credit, may move forward in ways more visible efforts cannot right now. If your work involves anything confidential, research-based, or done outside the spotlight, this stretch of time tends to favor that kind of quiet, concentrated effort over splashy public wins. A surprise professional call or piece of news is possible today, and it leans toward the encouraging side. Stay reachable. The confidence radiating from today's emotional placement makes this a reasonable day to advocate for yourself, provided you do it before that early afternoon window closes and the day's energy naturally starts to shift. Money. Financially, today's forecast leans toward stability rather than volatility, which after months of Pluto's deep, sometimes unsettling inner work, might come as a relief. That surprise call mentioned a moment ago could carry good news on the financial front specifically, so do not dismiss an unexpected message as unimportant. The bigger money story, though, connects back to that 8th house Venus placement. This house governs shared resources, meaning joint accounts, splitting costs, inheritance, or any financial arrangement that involves another person. Over these coming weeks, conversations about who pays for what, or how resources get divided in a partnership, tend to go more smoothly than they might have a month ago. The key word from the Western reading is mutual. When both people are transparent about what they are contributing and what they need, this transit tends to support fairness rather than resentment. Health. Here is what makes today genuinely unusual, and it is worth pausing on. You have a slow-motion planet excavating your subconscious in the background, a fast-moving moon demanding action in the foreground, and a Venus placement asking you to be emotionally exposed all at the same time. Most days ask one thing of you. Today is asking three things simultaneously, layered on top of each other like sheets of glass. What that means practically is that your energy might feel unusually full, almost crowded, even if nothing dramatic is visibly happening around you. Many people navigating this kind of layered transit report feeling both restless and reflective in the same afternoon, which can be disorienting if you do not recognize what is producing it. You are not imagining that today feels different. 3 separate rhythms are running at once, and your job is not to silence any of them. It is to let them take turns. Physically, Teddy's more immediate reading suggests generally strong vitality, though a bit of outdoor adventurousness could lead to minor bumps or scrapes if you are not paying attention. Nothing serious, just a nudge to stay present in your body rather than lost entirely in your head. Given how much of today's story lives in your inner world, some gentle physical movement can help release built-up tension without forcing you to talk about anything before you are ready. Slow, flowing movement, the kind that does not demand performance, tends to suit this stretch particularly well. Some Vedic practitioners may recommend Saturn-related remedies, such as specific mantras, for individuals whose birth charts show particular affliction patterns involving Saturn, but this is not universal advice. Gemstone or ritual remedies in Vedic astrology require personal chart analysis and should never be adopted simply because they are associated with your sun sign. Home and family. That same 12th house energy from earlier tends to make solitude feel less like isolation and more like necessity right now. If you have been craving more quiet time at home than usual, or found yourself wanting to close the door and simply exist without explaining yourself to anyone, that is consistent with what this ongoing inner process asks of you. It does not mean you are pulling away from the people who matter. It means part of you is doing maintenance work that can only happen in private. At the same time, the 8th house Venus energy suggests family or close friend conversations touching on shared responsibilities, whether that is finances, caretaking, or long-standing unspoken tension, may go better than expected if you approach them gently and honestly. Perhaps you have realized lately that some relationships have been running on assumptions instead of clear communication. This window offers a chance to correct that, quietly and without drama, rather than through a confrontation. Travel in spirit. If you can, leave some empty space on your calendar over the coming weeks rather than booking every hour. Creative and spiritual insight during this Venus transit tends to arrive sideways, often in quiet, unstructured moments rather than while you are actively trying to force a breakthrough. Some Pisces natives may notice inspiration surfacing in dreams or in the strange half-awake minutes just before sleep. If that happens, keep something nearby to write it down before it dissolves. Short outdoor excursions suit today's energy better than tightly scheduled itineraries. New York surfaces as a particularly resonant destination in today's broader reading, worth filing away for future planning rather than acting on immediately. Whether or not travel happens this week, the deeper spiritual thread running through today is about trusting the excavation Pluto has been doing. You do not need to understand every layer of it yet. You just need to keep showing up for the quiet parts of yourself that are asking for attention. Lucky signs. Tay's supportive color leans toward lemon, worn or kept nearby to align with the day's brighter emotional current, while green offers a complementary boost tied to steadiness and growth. The most productive window for important decisions or conversations falls before 3:15 in the afternoon, after which the day's energy naturally softens into something more reflective. Compatible energy today favors people who communicate directly but gently, mirroring the honesty yet tender tone Venus is encouraging in your closest relationships. Tay's guidance. So here is where all of this actually lands. You are being asked to do something quietly difficult today. Hold two truths at once. Part of you needs to withdraw, process, and sit with whatever Pluto's long, patient work in your private world has been surfacing. Another part of you is being invited, gently, to let someone else in closer than usual, particularly around money, intimacy, or long-avoided honesty. These are not contradictory instructions. They are sequential ones. Do the quiet work first, even if it is just for 20 minutes with the door closed. Then, when you are ready, bring one honest sentence to someone you trust instead of a mysterious silence. That is the real invitation hidden inside today's chart. Not performance, not a grand gesture, just one true thing said clearly to one person who has earned the right to hear it. The door that opened at the very start of today is still open. What you choose to walk through it with is entirely up to you.